What is going on, Vype Nation? Another Monday show. I'm Wac, that's Scotty T, and we got some stuff to talk about today. Got some baseball and softball playoffs. Going to be joined later on by the executive director of Bridge Lacrosse, David Higbee, to talk about their success this season. Before we get into all that, Scotty T, how are we doing today? You're muted again. We'll get you figured out, Scotty.
Technology is not my strong suit, dude. I was 100% on mute. It happens. Hello, friends. As my friend Jim Nance would say, not my friend, but everybody loves a good friendship. Hello for this Monday afternoon. Wac, doing great, man. Had a really good weekend. How about you, my man?
Hey, it was a good weekend. Can't complain. I do hope this rain goes away, though. I don't want to see this rain on Saturday since, a wedding's supposed to be outside. So we do have backup plans, but, I'm hoping the right now it says there's a chance of rain. So fingers crossed that that weather changes for us. So for all you people that do rain dances, do the opposite of that this week.
That's right. We talked about it last week very briefly, but Wac, you're getting married on Saturday. Dude, that is so sick. How you feeling, man? Are you nervous?
I'm good.
Excited? What are the feels?
Everyone's always asking, man, are you nervous? Are you nervous? I'm not nervous. I'm ready for it. Let's do this. Let's get this thing on, get that ring on my finger, all that good stuff. So I'm ready. No nervous whatsoever for me.
Dude, you sound ready, man. That's exciting, dude. Wedding. I think we are officially on wedding season now. Like the summer's coming up, late spring, early summer. We are full on wedding season. I'm in a wedding for my boy this weekend on Saturday too, and dude, that might be my what's good this week is just weddings because everybody loves a good wedding.
Yeah, and sorry you couldn't be at mine. No, it's
I didn't get the invite. No, I'm just playing.
A lot of people didn't get the invite. So trying to keep it a little bit smaller. True. Obviously, COVID playing a factor into that, but. Let's get into some sports talk. I think I was going to start with some baseball and softball and all that, but we already got them on. So I figure, let's just talk some bridge lacrosse. So joining us now, and let me make sure he's ready. Let me look here. David, are you ready?
Softball and all that, but we already got them on. So I figure,
we got a little bit of lag. There we go. I think we got it figured out. So David, how are you doing today, man?
I'm doing well. How are you guys?
Hey, can't complain. As you may have been listening, got my wedding coming up, so excited
Congrats.
about. Thank you. So I'm excited about that, and talking about excitement. I mean, I want to talk about the Bridge just organization as a whole at first, but you got a lot of things to be excited about at Bridge. So before we talk about what happened in the last few weeks with Bridge Lacrosse, just what is Bridge Lacrosse? What kind of organization is it? What do you guys do? Stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first, I appreciate the opportunity to be here and then chat and catch everyone up on what we do. So, we are defined as a sports-based youth development nonprofit. Our mission is to use the sport of lacrosse to broaden horizons of youth. And so what that means for us and a lot of people in the lacrosse community is we believe there are very unique benefits to the sport that don't always exist in how we define as under-resourced communities. So, if we can get a kid hooked into the sport of lacrosse because it's fun and engaging, we think there's other opportunities and new horizons for kids to explore from the sport. So that's ultimately our goal is to open up doors for kids in areas that maybe the doors don't exist, organically.
And real quick, how long has Bridge been around for? I don't remember if we ever talked about that before in the past.
Oh goodness, yeah. So we have an interesting genesis. Programming started with a group of volunteers as early as 2003, and I think about 2008 is when we officially kind of incorporated as a nonprofit as Bridge Lacrosse. So there were people and volunteers doing the work well before the actual organization of Bridge Lacrosse was kind of defined.
Got it. And now just talk to me. Tell the viewers and I know you just briefly explained what the organization is. How is Bridge Lacrosse different from, you see the high school teams, from, I'm in Austin, so your Westlake and Lake Travis. What makes Bridge so much more unique than just your typical high school lacrosse clubs?
Yeah, that's a great question. So for us, it all starts with our mission and our culture. And, we know that other school teams and other associations have, great cultures, great missions. We're very unique in that lacrosse is a sport that's not often associated with the neighborhoods and the communities we're in. It typically lacrosse sort of stereotype or background is more affluent white communities. Most of our kids come from low income backgrounds, Title I type schools and neighborhoods that tend to be majority Black and brown. And so, for us to bring lacrosse to those communities, I think is a very unique aspect of this community and the lacrosse world. And so, in addition to just really regular lacrosse programming and competition, we also serve a lot of other needs. We do a lot of enrichment and academic work along with sort of the traditional lacrosse season in the spring and the fall.
And now let's move on to the exciting news, which is, you got the girls and the boys champions. If I read that right, I know the boys won because we streamed that game, but your girls also are the champions. Is that correct?
That's correct. So, the last few weeks have been absolutely wild, on top of an already, wild season and challenging and unique season. So our boys did finish as the Class C state champions. We went from 2 back-to-back winless seasons to a state championship, which has been unreal. And we've gotten a lot of support and a lot of praise from the lacrosse community and people around who have supported us over the years. And then a couple weeks prior, maybe a week and a half, our girls won the Division III championship. And so Division III is a little bit newer. Our girls made a run that ended with a championship against Bishop Lynch. I believe it goes about a week and a half before the boys. So yeah, we have 2 champions, 2 varsity championship teams. It's incredibly exciting, and the love and support has been unreal from everyone.
And it wasn't just going from 2 kind of winless seasons to the championship, but y'all did pretty good, if I'm not mistaken. It's been a couple weeks since I looked over our record, but wasn't it only like a handful of losses this year on the men's side?
We definitely, really came out of the gate, in January, February, really playing strong. Both teams, our girls ended with 7-1 record, boys ended with a 7-2 record. They went undefeated the boys went undefeated in their district. And it was exciting. So, we knew that both teams coming into this year were incredibly strong. We have in a very deep class of 2021 class on both teams. So we knew early on that, these were pretty talented teams. We didn't know, obviously, that, they would end with in the fashion that they did. But with a really deep senior core group on both sides, we figured we could play maybe a little bit better than we had in the past. And especially on our boys' side, there wasn't much worse we could do given the first 2 years or the previous 2 years.
Scotty, I don't want to steal all the thunder. You got any questions for David? You're muted again, Scotty.
I have a terrible habit of putting myself on the mute button and forgetting about it. So I apologize, David. Yeah, David, this is Scott here. Really, I'm just kind of curious, how do you grow lacrosse? Because in my opinion, lacrosse is one of the fastest growing sports, at least in the state of Texas, really popular up in the Northeast and on the East Coast. But what is it about lacrosse that attracts kids to play the sport?
Growth for us, it comes in many fashions, So one of the things that we're very focused on is just the word of mouth recruiting. So we have incredible families who have been involved and engaged with the organization for years. Our senior class, for example, a lot of them started when they were 3rd and 4th graders. And when you've invested that much time into an organization, the word kind of spreads. So our parents and our families and our kids are our greatest advocates in recruiting, new families and new players, and they're bringing their coworkers, friends, and their neighbors, or classmates, or teammates from other teams. We rely very heavily on that kind of word of mouth recruiting, and then on the other side, there's me in carpool lanes. We're running clinics in rec centers. I'm very fortunate that this is my full-time gig, and a large part of my job description is making sure we always have kids around to play lacrosse and get them involved in our programming. So I would say our success and growth has been primarily in the word of mouth. We have a great culture. We really start with that, and that attracts these families to stay for the long term. And then they ultimately help us recruit their networks and the people around them. We do run year-round programming, which helps a lot too. So over the summer, we're recruiting. During the fall, winter months, we're recruiting. We've always got some level of programming going on that kids can engage with.
David, talk to me real quick. I know you talk about your program is largely built on word of mouth and recruiting. What was that like for you in the? And I know you said you had a very stacked 2021 class, but what was that like for you during this COVID time of, you're not your typical lacrosse program. You don't have your own field to practice on and all this stuff. What were some of the struggles as the executive director for you and just your club in general to combat these COVID times and then come out on top as the champions?
Yeah, that's a great question. The biggest challenge for us is, we serve a demographic that tends to be marginalized in a handful of different ways. And so the first step for us was just addressing the basic needs of our families and understanding what their needs were. So we did have a lot of families with economic issues, with food security issues. And so we wanted to make sure we addressed those first and at least understood what their challenges were. And then we can kind of talk about lacrosse, which kind of came obviously later in the summer and fall. And the challenges around the lacrosse side were just simply, how comfortable were kids getting back onto the field? How comfortable were families being back around other people? We made sure that we had a lot of structure built in and that we took safety very, very seriously so that parents felt, relatively confident in what we were doing so that their kids could come back and play lacrosse. So, there were a lot of different challenges that I think were unique to the demographic we serve versus maybe other lacrosse associations or schools. But I think it goes back to that culture. And when we said, hey, this is what we're going to try to do, and here's kind of the reasoning and the guidelines and parameters, we had a lot of families who said, we're confident in what you're doing, and, we'll be back in for fall ball, or we'll run this team, or we'll be at this practice. So, those challenges were tough. And as we rolled into the spring, we lost a lot of kids. We lost about 25-30% of our kids from the previous season. Attendance and things like that were down across the board. We played fewer games, but ultimately the culture of what we do and the trust and from the families was kind of what got us through it. And through that we built together 2 championship teams and found a lot of commitment because of the challenges that our kids were kind of facing day to day.
Yeah, and something I want to. Oh, go ahead, Scott. I think you're muted again, Scott. We'll get you. We'll get you there, Scott. We'll get you there eventually.
Dadgummit, it happened again. Okay, so David, I apologize for that. So I'm curious what it's like not only building a program, but building a championship program. I mean, winning the state championships in not only the boys and the girls. That's awesome. It's one tackle, for lack of a better word. It's one tackle to build up a program, but to also make that into a championship program. How are you able to do that and build that culture?
Oh man, yeah. I think this year we really found the kids who were committed to lacrosse, and I think that's what made the winning and the outcome on the field so much different this year. Is we had the kids who were even through COVID, I'm going to come back, I'm going to be part of this team, I'm going to play. That was the first step. Who's even coming back to put together a team that wants to win and wants to play at a high level. Everything has been, I've been at this for almost 10 years now, and the organization's been around, almost 2 decades. So much of this, of our championship and the outcomes on the field have just come from long-term commitment. This is not something that we ever thought would ever happen overnight. And really the winning is not ultimately our end goal. The wins and losses, really don't factor into a lot of the conversations as coaches, as an organization. It's simply what can we do? What can lacrosse do for kids that maybe they don't have? And if we can win games, that's a great luxury, or that's a great kind of bonus. But when you chip away and you believe in the process and you have kids that buy in, you have great coaches who buy in, the winning kind of comes organically. And then I think that's what happened with us, is that, we were never really intentional about trying to win a championship. But you had all of these pieces that have been working together in tandem for the last 10 plus years. And somehow, some way, we found a way to get to that last game of the playoffs. So, it's little things along the way. It's great people. I've got incredible coaches. I'd put my coaching staff against anyone out there, any other program out there. And that's been a big part of it, is, as cliche as it sounds, it's trusting the process. And, if we don't put everything into winning the championship game, we can do a lot of little things a lot of other greater things along the way. And then winning might just happen, which it did.
And I think you put that beautifully, David, is that at the end of the day, it's not about winning. It's about, growing character and individuals. And I, just from what I've seen interacting with you guys, because for those that don't know, I mean, we kind of have, I would say, somewhat of a partnership. So, I mean, we have actually one of your, I don't know if you want to call it students, but I would say a student in general, Daniela, who's one of our Vype U ambassadors. She does amazing work, by the way. So if you don't know, go check her out at Vype.com, Vype U. Just search Vype U, and her stuff will come up. She covers Bridge Lacrosse better than anyone. But I mean, you just grow great people. I mean, that's what it's all about. If all you care about is winning, I think that reflects on the program. Where if you care about the people, I think that also reflects on the program. And I think you do a great job of that. To close some stuff out here, I know you do have a couple of things coming up. I don't know if you want to go ahead and promote that. I know you got that. What's it called? The game where the players play the coaches and all that. You have that coming up still? Is that still a go?
No, unfortunately, it's not. COVID has kind of wreaked havoc on a lot of venues, and so there's a couple things we're not able to pull off, at least for this year, including that game, which is a big charity kind of fundraising game for us. There's a couple camps we're not running, so we're still kind of feeling the effects of COVID and some of the concerns around safety. I'm confident that the majority of our programming and what we do best it will happen, but there's a few little bumps along the way, even as, Texas kind of returns to normal. So unfortunately, no to that charity game. But we do have some other things coming up. We've got a lot of great programming we're going to run with the kids. We're getting ready to reset, for our new year. And we have some big plans to maintain the confidence level in our kids, who won state and see off, almost 30 seniors to college. And make sure they're taken care of as they start their next chapter. So a lot of stuff on the table for us. It's been an exciting few weeks for sure, but there's certainly more to come.
Now, I know you said that event's not happening, but if someone wants to get a hold of you or the organization, what are a few ways that they can do that?
Yeah, so the biggest one is our website. We try to keep as much information up there as we can. So our website, which is bridgelacrossedallas.org. We have plenty of presence on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all Bridge Lacrosse. Occasionally, I'll post something on TikTok. It's not really my forte, so there's always an avenue there. But those three main social media sites are kind of our go-to, and then of course our website. And then my email address, which is just david@bridgelacrossedallas.org, is also a great way to get a hold of me.
And I've actually got the website on the stream right now. I know you can't see it, David, or maybe you're watching and have it on mute, but there it is. So definitely go check out the website, see how you can get involved if you want to help out. Like I said, they definitely don't have their fundraising event this year. So any way you want to help out, go ahead and do that. David, that is all the time we have for you today, but thank you for coming on. I know we love what Bridge is doing. We love Daniela over at Vype U. So, hopefully y'all can rebuild and be back in that championship next year.
Absolutely. Thanks, gentlemen. I really appreciate it.
No problem. Have a good one, David.
Take care, guys.
All right. That is David Higbee from Bridge Lacrosse. Again, just a great organization. Not your typical, lacrosse organization. So very good to have him on and just kind of celebrates championships for both the boys and the girls, Scott.
That's right. I love what he said and you highlighted earlier. It's not about the wins and losses. It's all about building character. It's about giving kids and maybe underprivileged communities an opportunity to play lacrosse because there has been traditionally a barrier to entry to play lacrosse and really for all sports in general. The more opportunity that you can give sports kids an opportunity to play not only football, but a different variety of sports, I think is a great and beautiful thing. I really do, because sports just teaches you character. It teaches you just the little things like how to show up on time, how to work with the team, and how to handle adversity and overcome adversity, all those life lessons that you learn in sports. And I tell you, lacrosse is one of those fastest growing sports, and it's because of guys like David, guys who are willing to put in the time, who are passionate about the sports and about kids. And it sounds like Bridge Lacrosse is on the up and up, winning championships too. That's only going to help their recruitment, help kids sign up and really help grow the sport of lacrosse.
Yeah, and it will be interesting to see how they rebuild next year. I think that's going to be really key for them. Obviously, you heard losing a bunch of seniors, so it'd be interesting to see how they rebuild. But speaking of championships and all that, we got to move on. We got baseball and softball in the thick of it right now. And the first one I want to talk about, they're not out of it yet, but Leander softball lost the first game this past weekend in the playoff series. They lost 1-0 to Medina Valley. So a very tight game, very obviously low scoring game there, but undefeated no more, but they did end up winning the series and moving on. So I don't know if I would call it an upset or a shock, but we talked about this earlier in the season. Scott, is a loss good for them, and thankfully this was a 3-game series, not a one and done type of thing. But maybe this loss might wake them up a little bit, and be that kind of extra drive to finish off the season and be the champions. Maybe finish still number 1 in the nation.
Yeah, I haven't checked the national rankings in a while, but last I checked, Leander was still number 1 in the country. They might drop that number 1 ranking in the country after a loss to Medina Valley. But like I said, didn't see that coming. Really didn't. They've been dominant all season long, and I think it's good for them. I think, first off, going undefeated in general is just very difficult, whether it be football or baseball, softball, especially in baseball, softball, because there are so many games that they play in and with the frequency. So to even make it undefeated this far is good. Like I said, 2 out of 3, probably a good thing. I think a loss, you learn more from your losses than you do from winning. And so maybe they just had an off night. I didn't watch the game, so I'm not sure what exactly happened, but 1-0 sounds like it was a really close game. But I think it's a good thing that you at least get that 1L. You have the pressure of an undefeated season that's off your back now. You're like, all right, that's out of the way. So now we can go and take care of business and move on to the next round.
Yeah, and again, you'd rather lose in the 3-game playoff series than the one and done format. So I bet you,
man, ain't that true?
And I bet at the end of the day, hey, one loss and holding up that banner trophy, or the trophy is better than an undefeated, or having an undefeated season and then losing in the championship game. So I'm sure they'll take it.
I mean,
at the end of the day,
take the L right now, and then. But at the end of the day, if you're holding that trophy, who cares? Because you're still state champs.
Yeah, and that's completely right. Now, do you have any other teams you want to mention here, Scotty?
Man, so in terms of Region 4, 6A, I said keep an eye out for Bowie and Lake Travis. And Bowie advances, beating Lake Travis 2-1. The first game was a blowout. The second game was a little bit closer. So I don't know, man. I was kind of bullish on Bowie to start the season. I think they got off to a pretty slow start, but I mean they got some talent down there. So I've been big on Bowie for a while. So not really surprising that they advanced, but beat a good Lake Travis team as well. So congrats to those ladies down at Lake Travis on a good season. Also, big shouts to Judson, Converse Judson, beating Round Rock in Region 4 as well. So it's look, regional semifinals. This is the Elite 8 in softball right now. All these teams are really good. They're playing good softball. So I'm excited to see how it turns out. Obviously, we touched on it earlier. Leander is probably still the team to beat, and I believe Corpus Christi. I have it pulled up here. They have Corpus Christi Carroll next. Corpus Christi Carroll beat Ray, and they kind of blew out Ray here. So this is it, man. It's crunch time. Elite 8. This is about as good as it gets in terms of Texas high school softball.
I need to pull up my rankings, but if I'm not mistaken, and let me do that right now while I talk. But let's switch over to baseball here real quick. Didn't we have Reagan and Smithson Valley as number 1, number 2 to end the year? Let me pull it up here real quick.
In softball or in baseball?
Baseball. I'm pretty sure we did. I'm looking right now. So there's that one. So it was either 1 or 3. Let me take a look here. Yeah, so it looks like it finished 1 and 3 is how we had them finish. So Reagan at 1 and Smithson Valley at 3. And now they're playing each other coming up. Reagan versus Smithson Valley coming up this week. So hey, we get some stuff right every now and then, right? So
that's right. We act like we know what we're talking about sometimes, and turns out we do. We do cover high school sports for a living, so just saying.
Like Travis is still in it. They'll be playing Round Rock. One team that I'm looking at here that's kind of had a very good sports season overall is now, of course, this is something you might hear often, but Katy. I mean, they won state in football. Now you got their softball team still in it. They got the baseball team still in it. They got a lot of good athletes over in Katy.
Yeah, I was kind of hitting on Region 4 earlier. I'm pulling up the Houston ones because Houston dabbles in Region 2 as well as Region 3. Region 3 is the one. Ridgepoint, they won their one-game series against Cypress Creek at 13-10, so really high-scoring game there. So they were the first team to punch their ticket. The one that really caught my attention, though, when I was looking at the scores last night, it was – oh, gosh, where is it? It was Clear Springs versus Dobie. Clear Springs was the H-Town High School Sports Team of the Week a few weeks ago. Undefeated district play. They are still undefeated. They beat Dobie 1-0 and then 3-2. The thing about those games, Josh, is that those games went into 8 innings. Each one went into extras. Clear Springs comes out on top on both games. And to your point, who do they face next? The Katy Tigers. Katy Tigers, the last time they went this far in the playoffs, won the state championship. So you got Clear Springs versus Katy. That is going to be the game that I am going to keep an eye on in terms of Region 3 coming out of softball.
Yeah, there's.
And then
Go ahead, Scotty.
And then the Woodlands. I like the Woodlands as well to come out of Region 2.
Now I was muted. See, there you go. You're rubbing off on me, Scotty. You're rubbing off on me. There's a lot of good teams still in it. A lot of teams we've had in our rankings from San Antonio and Austin still in it. What is it? Lake Creek, the softball team. That's the team that Matt loves. They're still in it. A lot of good teams still in it, running down. And by the time I come back from my honeymoon, I think it'll be probably championship right before. I think the semis by the time I get back from my honeymoon. So
yeah, that's right. So, man, I don't know if I updated or did those not update? That's annoying. I updated those. Anyway, yeah, Lake Creek beat Mag West in the 5A, and Crosby beat Santa Fe. Santa Fe was the Vype Houston preseason #1 softball team. So Santa Fe gets knocked out by Crosby. That was a pretty anticipated matchup. I'll tell you what, man, this 5A level, we were talking about Leander earlier. Leander is going to have their work cut out for them because they're in Region 4. So whoever comes out of this Region 3 is going to be pretty tough to beat, I think, because you got now Crosby beats Santa Fe and Lake Creek, who they have just a dominant pitcher. Gosh, I'm going blank. Emily Kennedy's the pitcher. She's committed to Texas A&M. She is at one point she had a 0 ERA this year. Yeah, that's right. I didn't stutter on that. That is a 0. Gave up 0 runs. I'm not sure if she's still on that, but point is that she is dominant. So you got Lake Creek versus Crosby. You got Waller versus Barbers Hill. Barbers Hill, they were also top 10 in the country at one point this year. So they are balling out. They got a great pitcher, great batter over there who's on the cover of the Vype magazine. So I'm really excited actually for that. And then whoever comes out of that region will, I would think, maybe have to face Leander, assuming that Leander can come out of it. But also, real quick, going back to Region 4 on the 5A level, I'm surprised that Georgetown beat New Braunfels Canyon because Georgetown lost the first game 7-0. And then they came back and won 8-2, 8-0. So big shouts to Georgetown. They're also having a really good season just across the board, I think, for all sports. Basketball, girls and boys made it pretty far, and then also the softball team making it far there.
You said Georgetown softball there?
Georgetown softball, correct.
If I'm not mistaken, they did play Leander. Let me look here. They did play Leander pretty close in one of their games, but Leander is definitely on a class of their own, though, when they're winning. I mean, Georgetown's sitting here at 23-5 on the year, so definitely no slouches themselves. Let me check in. Let me pull up the good old Max Preps.
Yeah, and going back to 6A Houston real quick in Region 2, you got the Woodlands. They're going to face Bryan. So I don't know much about Bryan, just north of College Station, but they're having a really good year as well. And then Bridgeland is going to face Rockwall. Rockwall's having a good season up in the DFW area. So to round out Region 1 in softball, you got Boswell versus Prosper. I like Prosper. I think they got some really good a good squad up there. We saw them at the photo shoot. We also saw Flower Mound. You got South Lake Carroll versus Flower Mound. That Region 1 is going to be tough. Whoever comes out of Region 1 in softball, watch out because they're going to be a team to beat out of Region 1 as well.
Yeah, now is where pitching really, comes into play for both the baseball and softball realms. So, especially because when you get to state, it's only a 1-game series. So, if you can have your 8. What's that, Scott?
Well, I'm saying in the 1 game, anything could happen, man. Like it's to your point about the pitcher. I think that's why I like Lake Creek a lot. You got Emily Kennedy, who's the stud and putting the team on her back. And really, they got a great lineup over there at Lake Creek too. But if you got a pitcher who literally hasn't give up a run this year, that's pretty hard to beat.
Yeah. So that's where really, and heck, we talk about Leander losing. Maybe they just came up against a really good Medina Valley pitcher, and it's one of those things where that's where you also start adjusting your lineups, right? So it's like, okay, I'm not gonna put my ace in this game because they're putting their ace, and we got 3 games. So, but we got a lot's happening, a lot's gonna happen in the next 2 weeks. So it'll be exciting to see what's on tap. The next few weeks as far as results go. But I think that's enough sports talk for now. I think now it's time for my favorite segment. I'm sure it's your favorite segment. Guess who's that mascot? That's right. Gonna jump on in. Scotty, by the skin of his teeth last week, got by on a wild guess to remain at the 1-3 mark. Staying steady. Look, if you don't get at least one of these right, you owe me like $50 or something, because one of these is like super easy, and you're gonna have a lot of people questioning, your kind of sports intelligence if you get this first one wrong at least. You have the chance to get all 3 right this week. I will say that you have the chance to get all 3 right this week, okay? Because these 3 are somewhat well-known teams in Texas, in my opinion. Now, some of them are lower classifications, I will say that, but you do have a chance. So I'm going to show you this first one. You should probably get immediately, but I am going to let the countdown play. So, have fun with the 10 seconds you get, all right? So your first one, right. Allen.
I'm going to go with the Allen Eagles.
Final answer?
The Allen Eagles. Who they actually just had a 5-star transfer up there from Morton Ranch. 5-star D lineman.
Well, there you go. So he knows a lot about Allen, and that's because it is the Allen Eagles. So there you go. Starting off strong on this one. Starting off strong. So let's see if you can keep it up.
I shoot a shot because you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Wayne Gretzky.
Your next one. This is one I actually think has been in some of our rankings in our area. So Holland. Holland
Knights.
Holland Knights. Incorrect. It's the Holland Hornets. The Holland Hornets. I believe.
I wanted to do like the. Okay. I wanted to do like the family feel, like pump myself up. Good answer. Good answer. But it didn't work.
Final one. And
right.
People will put Omaha in front of this, so that might help as well. But Pewitt. Some people put Omaha because it is called Omaha Pewitt, but most people just say Pewitt. Or
Falcons. I don't know.
They are a football power at times. Pewitt Brahmas.
I would not have gotten that one. I wasn't even in the same ballpark.
You can see from the star they are up there in northeast Texas. So,
man,
Continue
That's
that
like
trend.
Texarkana.
Continue that trend of 1 for 3. So that's like consistent. If you take it to the betting locations, you're gonna win most of the time because so
Hey, that's
far
right.
6 shows in, you are 1 for 3 steady.
Every time, Hall of Famer. I'm telling you.
Well, it is time to end our show, and of course, we always end it with our one good thing. It's where we go and tell you one good thing that's happened this week. Scotty, I've gone first the last few weeks. I want to let you go first this week.
All right. This is definitely a homer call on this one. I want to preface to everybody out here, too. My one good thing that I saw this week was the Houston Astros sweeping the Texas Rangers right out of Houston. Get out of here. Houston Astros are rolling right now because I have a bet with one of my buddies. We have a standing bet every single year that whoever wins the silver boot, my buddy lives in Dallas, I live in Houston, he's got to come down and buy me dinner. And so the fact that the Astros are 4-0 after sweeping the Rangers out of town, that's my one good thing. I think I'm going to get a free dinner out of it.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. I've been wearing I don't know if you know, but I've been wearing my Rangers cap the last few weeks, and I switched it up today. My one good thing is definitely a homer one as well. That's my man, Tim Duncan, one of the greatest, probably top 5 basketball players of all time, getting inducted into the Hall of Fame. I was so lucky to just be in like the prime of my sports watching kind of, I guess my sports watching prime is what you could say, from when he came in and started winning in 99 all the way up till when he retired, up until 17, 18 is when he retired. I mean, geez, just that level of consistency for almost 2 decades. It's something technically we've gotten spoiled with it because we're getting it with LeBron James now. I mean, we kind of had it with Kobe as well. So we've just been really spoiled with kind of sports consistency as far as staying in for 2 decades plus, stay with the same team his whole career, Timmy did. Same coach. I mean, just dude is the epitome of what a good basketball player, what a great basketball player is, right? I mean, taking criticisms from Pop all the time, being that kind of team player. Absolutely, spoiled as a Spurs fan to have him play for so long. So that is my one good thing for the week.
I think Tim Duncan might be the most underrated player maybe ever.
And that's saying
especially in this
saying
generation.
Something because he's often considered, the greatest, forward ever. But it is true because, he played in the time of Kobe, he played in the time of LeBron, and those guys get more love because obviously they're that kind of superstar type where they're out there doing all the press conferences and stuff, where Timmy's just that quiet assassin, if you will. Yeah,
and maybe it has something to do with it, but playing in San Antonio isn't necessarily as big of the market. But, the guy still won. Well, Josh, correct me if I'm wrong. Is it 5 championships?
5 championships. Could have been 6, but I don't want to talk about that Ray Allen shot right now.
Yeah, well, in the era, like you said, of LeBron James, of Kobe Bryant, of the Detroit Pistons in those couple of years run, still the Showtime Lakers, like Tim Duncan was out there through it all. And even in the later portion of his career, you forget how athletic he was, because in the later portion of his career, he was just kind of the steady down in the block, little 10-foot, 15-foot jumper. But, man, it was steady. There's a reason why he won 5 championships. Manu Ginobili, Tony Parker, Greg Popovich, like those Spurs teams were electric and fun to watch. That's why I say he's underrated, because he's not mentioned in those group of players with those guys. Like even Paul Pierce, who just got announced he's in the Hall of Fame, and Kevin Garnett. Kevin Garnett has 1 championship, but people remember Kevin Garnett before Tim Duncan for some reason. So I don't know why. Maybe it's because he played in Boston, or he's a little more outspoken. Tim Duncan, he's the kind of guy I think that just likes to stay in the back. But, dude, the guy was a killer. And he well-deserved, and congratulations to him. And also, it was weird for me not seeing Kobe Bryant there. I got a tad emotional. I'm not going to lie. Kobe was a guy that I looked up to, man. So, it's definitely still praying for the Bryant family. But, well-deserved. He had 2 Hall of Fame careers as number 8 and number 24 as well. So, Kobe's one of the GOATs.
Yeah, definitely a fun and sad night all in one with that. So we'll leave it at that. No show next week because I'll be on my honeymoon and I'm not going to work on my honeymoon. So we are not doing a show next week. We're going to have off. So Scotty, you got an off week next week.
Thing.
What's that?
I got one more thing. All right, you can cue the music though if you want. But I want to give a shout out to Hebron Girls Golf winning the state championship last week. Hebron, Alamo Heights won 5A, and Argyle won the 4A Girls Golf State Championship. The boys are teeing it up today and tomorrow to find out who's going to be crowned. So shout out to Hebron winning the first ever Girls Golf State Championship.
All right. Congratulations to all three winners. And I'll be a married man next time you see me on camera, Scott.
Josh, man, good luck this weekend. Hope everything goes well, brother.
Appreciate it. All right, everyone. See you in a couple of weeks.